All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking this really powerful modern parable about, well, stepping up to save the world instead of just sitting around waiting for someone else to do it. We're going to explore some pretty profound concepts about our actual role in the universe. We'll see how shifting our mindset from being just a passive bystander to an active participant can literally change the future. So, picture this grounded, serene scene. It's an auditorium that probably smells faintly of cafeteria pizza and, discount deodorant. It's totally packed with 20-somethings, all wearing these clean, contemporary clothes. But despite this incredibly vibrant, calm atmosphere, their minds are a million miles away. They're just mindlessly doom-scrolling on their phones, swiping past literal global apocalypses like they're just everyday videos in their feed. It's honestly a wild contrast. And right into the sea of quiet, disconnected scrolling, a young guy named Evan steps up to the mic. The principal's boring speech about test scores? Yeah, that's over. Evan is about to drop a massively heavy request on this totally skeptical crowd. He looks out at all those bored, half-asleep faces and just drops this heavy ask. I want to save the world, but I can't do it alone. Naturally, he gets immediate laughter and skepticism, right? I mean, these guys have been taught to just wait for a savior or that the world doesn't even need saving. But Evan challenges that head-on. He floats this fascinating idea. If there is a savior out there, don't you think they'd be way happier finding teammates who are already in the trenches working to save the world, rather than just waiting around in the stands like idle fans? So that brings us to part 1, 3 roadblocks to action. Because, let's be real, an impossible mission like that faces immediate, fierce resistance. Take this guy, Diesel, for example. He perfectly represents that deeply selfish transactional mindset. When Evan asked them to save the world, Diesel's literal first question is, how much are you going to pay us? He even shouts out that his ultimate hope is just unrestricted freedom where he never ever has to work a job. He'll only lift a finger if there's this immediate, impossible fantasy payout. And honestly, hoping for impossible fantasy outcomes like that just sets you up for absolute disaster. It's what we might call a cheap hope. Then we've got Rev, who captures this very modern, quiet nihilism. Rev just slinks back and claims, hey, I don't see anything wrong with the world. He says everyone gets pleasure, everyone gets pain, and to him, the highest virtue is just floating through life without judging or trying to change a single thing. But man, there is a sharp warning against this. If you stop judging and just drift along, selfish adversaries will totally control you. Why? Simply because you refuse to even recognize them as enemies in the first place. And finally, there's Abby. She represents this deeply ingrained, super passive belief system. Abby thinks people just need to wait around for some cosmic genie or a savior to do all the heavy lifting for us. Basically, she's planning to just chill until she's handed a beautiful mansion in heaven. She thinks she just needs to have hope, and poof, everything miraculously resolves itself. But listen, that kind of hope is basically a tranquilizer. Hoping someone else does your job for you entirely misses the point of why we're even here. Which leads us nicely into part 2. Hope is the blueprint. To counter those massive roadblocks, the greed, the nihilism, the passive waiting, Evan realizes he's got to completely redefine the tools we use to build our future. Look at Abby's cheap hope on one side. It's a fairy tale wish. You wait to be rescued and toss all the responsibility onto someone else. But on the flip side, we have real hope. Real hope isn't just sitting back saying, whatever happens, happens. No way. Real hope is like sunlight. It's a practical roadmap, a highly specific blueprint of the future where you actively stand right in the center of the mission. It's this divine foresight that shapes your attitude and forces you to create a real action plan. Moving right along to part 3, faith and charity. Now, a blueprint alone isn't going to build a golden age, right? You need the actual mechanics to put it into motion. I mean, you can have the most beautiful blueprint in the world, but without materials and labor, it's literally just a drawing on a desk. So here's how these 3 elements lock together like puzzle pieces. Hope gives you the vision and the blueprint. Faith acts as the engine. That's the confidence in your ability to actually build from the blueprint. And charity, that's the virtuous fuel powering the whole operation toward that outcome you see in your mind's eye. Without all 3 of these working together, the machine simply doesn't run. Let's break that down just a bit more. Faith isn't just this quiet internal belief that, things will be okay eventually. Not at all. It is pure empowerment. It's the active, muscular willpower you use to actually cause the things we envision to happen. It pulls your hopeful visions right into reality because you take action, not because you sit on the couch waiting for your wishes to be magically granted.
It's a literal force of creation.
And then there's charity. This goes way, way beyond just getting a warm, fuzzy feeling inside or endlessly doing everything for people who absolutely refuse to lift a finger for themselves. Actually, scratch that notion entirely. Charity is the targeted application of your virtuous energy. It's loving the Creator and the universe enough to use your own creative free will, directing that holy fire toward a specific, wise outcome. It's about developing your unique gifts so you can actually become an active force for good. All right, let's look at part 4. Partners, not bystanders. Evan takes this practical, everyday framework and totally scales it up to a cosmic level. He points out something amazing. The Creator himself used this exact same process to build the universe. Think about it. The Creator had hope, a clear vision of a wonderful world. He used faith, the actual power to speak creation into being within the limits of cosmic law. And he used charity, the holy light from his heart crystallizing exactly according to the vision he held. So what does this mean for us? It means we are supposed to be active partners in this ongoing creation. If you just give away your creative free will for someone else's system, you're losing total control over your future. We aren't meant to just be carbon copies or willing servants waiting for orders. We are meant to be divine directors. But of course, right as we hit this massive, deep philosophical point, the lunch bell rings. The tension in the room instantly evaporates as everyone's stomach starts rumbling. But even in that exact moment, Diesel shouts out, "Hey, lunch exists because someone had faith that hungry teens would eat it." And, it's actually pretty funny because he inadvertently proves the point perfectly. Someone had to physically envision that lunch, use their willpower to actually prepare it, and direct their energy to serve it to the students. Literally, nothing happens without hope, faith, and charity working together in the real world. Even cafeteria pizza. So as the chairs scrape, backpacks zip up, and the students file out of the auditorium back into their regular everyday lives, this final glowing reminder shines on the projector. It emphasizes that true spiritual health, wealth, wisdom, and power, they don't come from blind obedience or just passively waiting around. They come from sharing our hopeful vision, helping others choose the best path, and actually taking action as partners in creation. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this final, absolutely crucial thought to carry with you today. When you open your phone and look at the challenges and sometimes literal apocalypses showing up in your feed, how are you going to respond? Are you going to be a willing servant, just passively doom scrolling and waiting for some rescue that lets you totally off the hook? Or will you use your free will, your faith, your hope, and your charity to become a divine director, actively shaping a better future? The choice is entirely yours.